We are starting today with a new topic, that is radioactivity, last topic of physics in the textbook. So in this chapter, a part of the chapter is not there. So we will see what is there, only that part we will be doing. So now, representation of atom, you have all done this in chemistry, you know it. X stands for an element, it may be any element. You've learned third row elements, all those elements. And X stands, let's say, for an element like uranium. U is the symbol for uranium. So X is just the representation, it represents any name of an element. A is the mass number. Mass number means what is there in the nucleus. The entire mass of an atom is in the nucleus. Nucleus has neutrons and protons. So A stands for total number of protons plus neutrons. In other words, it can also be called nucleons. Because you consider the electron to be very light, it does not have any negligible mass is what we say. So the entire mass of the atom is inside the nucleus and nucleus has protons and neutrons. Now A is number of protons plus neutrons and Z is only the number of protons, and any atom will have number of electrons equal to number of protons because an atom is electrically neutral. It has no charge. So that is because the number of protons and electrons is equal. So if you take an example of uranium-92-238, this is one of the isotopes of uranium. Uranium-92-235 is also there. So this is generally what is used as a fuel in nuclear reactors, uranium-92-238. It means that first of all the element is uranium as per the symbols in the periodic table. Then it also means that uranium has 92 electrons and 92 protons. So we can calculate how many neutrons uranium has. The number of neutrons will be 238 minus 92, that is 146. There could be sometimes a question based on this which is asked, how many electrons are there, how many neutrons are there, and name an isotope of this element. Like that questions are sometimes asked in this chapter. We are basically dealing in this chapter only with the nucleus. That is why the name of this part of physics is nuclear physics. Nuclear means nucleus of an atom. What is there in the nucleus? Protons and neutrons. Now there is some imbalance sometimes in the number of protons and neutrons of a stable atom. Now many elements who have atomic number more than 82. 82 is lead. Lead is not the last stable element. After that, the nucleus gets so much crammed with protons and neutrons that there is some instability in the nucleus, and that is when some particles are emitted from the nucleus. That is what is known as radioactivity. There are two types of particles, alpha and beta particles, which are emitted from the nucleus, and there is a radiation also that is emitted, that is gamma radiations. So in this chapter we will be learning about the three types of emissions, and when a particle emits an alpha or a beta or a gamma particle radiation, what happens to the atom? How does the number of protons and neutrons change? All that we will be learning in this chapter, and what is the uses of radioactivity and what precautions you have to take when you use radioactive elements. All this will be learned in this particular chapter of radioactivity. Now we go on to see the definitions of atomic number and mass number. Atomic number represented by Z, as I told you, it is equal to the number of protons in the nucleus of an atom, which is also same as the number of electrons in a neutral atom. So that is the definition of atomic number. Definition of mass number, it is equal to the number of nucleons, that is the sum of the number of protons and neutrons. Next we see what is the difference between a chemical change and a nuclear change. Chemical change is what you see in chemistry. It's all got to do with giving, sharing and accepting or giving electrons. So entire chemistry is based on what happens in the orbital electrons where the electrons are given, taken or shared, so to form compounds. So when an atom undergoes a chemical change, there is a change in the orbital electrons, whereas nothing of this is to be done in a nuclear change. In nuclear change, the entire change happens in the nucleus. That is, there is a change in the number of neutrons or protons. In a nuclear change, there is a change in the number of nucleons, that is protons and neutrons. So this is one point of difference between a nuclear change and a chemical change. Now in chemical change, it is obvious in a chemical change, very less energy is required, that is only few electron volts. So that much only energy is required to produce a nuclear change. In a chemical change. In a nuclear change, large amount of energy is released. So here, very less energy is released, whereas here, large amount of energy, almost 10 raised to 6 times the energy that is released in a chemical change is released in case of nuclear change. So you have to understand the basic difference between the two. In this case, in chemical change, there is nothing to do with the nucleus. Everything happens in the orbital electrons. Whereas in a nuclear change, it is entirely only the nucleus that is affected. That is, the number of protons and neutrons, there is some change in that. In a chemical change, very little energy is released or required for producing a chemical change. That is in the order of a few eV. Now this eV stands for electron volt. Electron volt. 1 electron volt is charge of 1 electron into 1 volt. So 1 electron volt is charge of 1 electron into 1 volt. So you can say that 1 eV, the distinction is over here. 1 eV is charge of 1 electron into 1 volt. So this is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. That is the charge into 1 volt. So 1 eV is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 joule. That is the relation between electron volt and joule. So joule is used to measure what? Work or energy. So electron volt is also used to measure work or energy. It is used in case of chemical changes, and in case of nuclear changes you will call it MeV. M stands for mega. Mega stands for 10 raised to 6. So how much energy is released in a nuclear change or in a chemical change is generally not expressed in joule, it is expressed in electron volt. So if you are asked, name any 2 units of energy other than the SI unit of energy. So what is the SI unit of energy? It is joule. So other than that, any 2 units of energy other than the SI unit of energy, you can say one of them electron volt, used to measure energy released in case of chemical or nuclear changes. So that is electron volt, which is represented by small e and capital V. Another one, you have already done the full chapter on that. That is calorimetry. So in that you learn 1 calorie. So you had learned the relation between calorie and joule also. So calorie is commonly used to measure heat energy. Heat energy is measured in calorie, whereas electron volt is also another unit of energy other than the SI unit, and that's the relation between electron volt and joule. So now we continue. Isotopes. This is important. It has been asked in a couple of board papers. Now what do you mean by isotopes? Just take an example. We've already seen this example of uranium-92-238. This is the common fuel that is used in nuclear fission and fusion. Of course, this year, that part of the syllabus, nuclear fission and fusion, is not there for you. So only the first part of this chapter is there for you. But isotopes is there. This has nothing to do with nuclear fission and fusion. So here if you see, it's the same element. So obviously the atomic number is the same, because if atomic number changes, that means the element changes. So the element is the same, so atomic number is the same. What is different in the two is the number of neutrons. That means the mass number is changing. The mass number is different for both of them because the number of neutrons in the nucleus is different for uranium-238 and uranium-235. Let's see. The atomic number is different because if you see, this has got uranium-92 235 has got 235 minus 92 neutrons. So many neutrons are there. 143 neutrons are there. Whereas in the second case, uranium-92 238, number of protons remain 92 only. But number of neutrons is now different. It is 235 minus 92. That is 146 neutrons are there in this case. So 3 neutrons extra is there in the nucleus of uranium-92 238. When you compare it with uranium-92 235, the number of neutrons is different. So definition: the atoms of same element having same atomic number Z but different mass number A are called isotopes. So basically, why is the atomic number different? Because the number of neutrons in the nucleus is different. Number of protons remain the same. What changes in this case? 235 minus 92, that is 143 neutrons are there in this case. Whereas in this case, 238 minus 92, that is 146 neutrons are there in the second case. So let's see some more examples of isotopes. Hydrogen has 3 isotopes. Protium, this is the hydrogen that is commonly present everywhere abundantly. That is called protium. It has got the number H. 1 is the atomic number. Atomic number of all will be 1 only. That's why it is hydrogen. If it becomes 2, it is another element, helium. So hydrogen has got atomic number 1. Mass number is different. So this has got 0 neutrons. 1 minus 1, 0 neutrons. This, that is deuterium, has got 1 neutron. 2 minus 1, 1 neutron. And tritium has got 1 proton and 3 minus 1, 2 neutrons. So you can very clearly see that in isotopes, what is happening is there is a change in the number of neutrons. The neutrons are different in the nucleus of protium, deuterium and tritium. That is why the mass numbers are different. Next you have carbon. Carbon has got 3 isotopes. Carbon 612, carbon 613 and carbon 614. Now in this case, carbon 612 has got 6 all of them have got same number of protons. That is why the atomic number is same. The atomic number for all 3 of them is 6. So protons, this number is 6. This has got 12 minus 6, 6 neutrons. This has got 13 minus 6, 7 neutrons. And 14 minus 6, 8 neutrons. Now there is also something known as stable isotopes and unstable isotopes. Now this is an unstable isotope because the number of protons exceed the number of neutrons. If the number of protons and neutrons is same, then usually it is a stable isotope. This is an unstable isotope. Here the number of neutrons is far more than the number of protons in the nucleus. Since the number of neutrons is greater, there is some instability, and this is a radioisotope. Such isotopes which are unstable are also known as radioisotopes. They emit something. So this is generally used in carbon dating. Carbon dating is the method and technique used to find the age of fossils. Like you read in the newspaper that there is this fossil of a dinosaur which was found, which may be 10 lakh year old or a million year old. So that dating, how do they know whether it is 5,000 years old or 50,000 years old or 1 lakh years old or 10 lakh years old? By seeing how much carbon 612, that is radioisotope of carbon, is present in that species specimen which they have discovered. So you and I, all of us has got carbon 14. The plants have got carbon 14. Some radioisotope of carbon is there in our body. So when a dead plant or an animal, when an animal or a plant dies, the number of carbon-14, you know the concentration of carbon-14 in that dead plant or animal, the moment it is dead. Now, over a period of many years, the amount of carbon-14 goes on decreasing. That is something known as half-life, that is not there in your portion, but carbon has a half-life of around 5,600 years. It means if there is 1 gram of carbon in a dead plant or animal which is just died, after 5,600 years the quantity will be half gram. Another 5,600 years the quantity will become half of half, so 1/4 gram. So that way, over a great duration of time, the amount of carbon-14 that is present in that species, present in that fossil, will go on decreasing. So by calculating how much carbon-14 is present in the dead fossil, you can predict how old the fossil is. So that is something that is beyond the syllabus, but you have something known as carbon dating, which is used to find the age of fossils. You just have a mention of that. What is the use of radioisotopes? In that you can write is used for carbon dating. Of course, we will come to that part of the portion. Chlorine has 2 isotopes. You know this. Chlorine can be chlorine 1735 and Cl 1737. In this case, both the cases protons is 17 only, and in this case 35 minus 17, 18 neutrons are there. Whereas in that case there is 37 minus 17, 20 neutrons. So in all these cases you will find that the number of protons in the isotope is same. That is why the atomic number is same, whereas mass number changes because the number of neutrons is different in the isotopes. Yes, you have to remember the names and examples of these isotopes. They could ask, what are the isotopes of carbon? And which is the radioisotope? This is the radioisotope. What are the isotopes of chlorine? Chlorine 1735 and chlorine 1737. Now tin has the largest number of isotopes, that is tin has 10 isotopes. You don't have to learn that, but you just have to remember the element that has maximum number of isotopes is tin. So copy this in your notebook, we continue. Now there are 2 types of isotopes, stable isotopes and unstable or radioactive isotopes. Now in a stable isotope, the number of neutrons and protons will be same. For example, you had seen the example of carbon 612. In this case, number of protons is 6 and number of neutrons is 12 minus 6. That is also 6. So number of protons and neutrons is same. So this is a stable isotope of carbon. Unstable or radioactive, number of neutrons is more than the number of protons. So number of neutrons far exceed the number of protons. These are very useful because it undergoes radioactive decay, and so it has a lot of medical and industrial uses. So for example, I had discussed carbon 614. The number of protons is 6 and the number of neutrons is 14 minus 6, that is 8. So that is why carbon 614 has a large number of uses, since it's a radioisotope or radioactive isotope of carbon. So this is the difference, or the 2 types of isotopes that are present, stable isotopes and unstable, which are also radioactive. Radioactive means something is emitted from the nucleus of this atom. So this atom, this emits something, some radiations are emitted, because of which, what is emitted we will see a bit later, because of which it changes and there are some uses of it, medical and industrial uses, that all we will see later. Now we saw isotopes first. So first we saw isotopes, like these both are isotopes. They have same atomic number, but they have different mass number because the number of neutrons are different. Now we will see what is isobars and isotones. Now most important was isotopes, which you saw first. That has been asked 2-3 times in the boards. Now what are isobars? This has nothing to do with the geography, this is the atom which we are talking about. The atoms of different elements, so different elements means different atomic number, which have the same mass number. Now in this case the mass number is same, in the first case the atomic number was same in isotopes. Now in isobars they have the same mass number capital A, but different atomic numbers because obviously they are different elements. For example, sodium 1123, 11 protons, 12 neutrons, 23 minus 11 that is 12 neutrons. Magnesium 1223, number of protons is 12 and number of neutrons is 23 minus 12 that is 11. So 12 protons and 11 neutrons. So isobars, here what is the same? Same mass number, 23, 23, both of them have the same mass number. Again, they are different elements. Only thing is their mass number happens to be same. Nothing, it's just a comparison and a new name given to it. It is not like isotopes where there are certain uses and radioactive uses which we are going to study in this chapter. In isobars and isotones, it is just a name given to a set of, if the condition that they have the same mass number. Different elements but same mass number. Carbon 614, the mass number is 14. Nitrogen 714, mass number is 14. Both of them have got the same mass number. So since mass number is same, that is why they are coming under the title of isobars. Now last is isotones. They are different elements having same number of neutrons. So in this case, atoms of having different number of protons, that means they are different atoms. Their atomic number is different. But they have same number of neutrons. The number of neutrons in both the cases is same. So here if you see sodium 1123, 23, the number of neutrons is 23 minus 11 that is 12. And magnesium 1224, number of neutrons is 24 minus 12 that is 12. So both of them have 12 neutrons. So they will come under the heading isotones. Mass number same, isobars. Atom nucleus, that is neutron same, isotones. Another example, potassium 1239. Number of neutrons is 39 minus 19. Potassium 1939. 1939, number of neutrons is 39 minus 19 that is 20. And calcium 2040. So the number of neutrons is 40 minus 20 that is 20. So both potassium and calcium, these two have got the same number of neutrons, 20 neutrons. So that is why they will come under the heading isotones. You are supposed to know what are isotopes, isobars and isotones. Isotopes we will see in detail some uses of radioactive isotopes which are also called radioisotopes. Now what is the definition of radioactivity? It's a nuclear phenomenon, that means it happens in the nucleus, and it is the process of spontaneous emission of alpha, this is the symbol for alpha, comma beta, this is the symbol for beta, and gamma, this is the symbol for gamma, radiations from the nucleus of atoms during their decay. Now of course, what is alpha, beta and gamma and properties of alpha, beta, gamma we will see a bit later. First we are seeing what is radioactivity. So alpha and beta particles and gamma radiations are emitted from the nucleus of certain atoms during their decay. Decay means they are changing from original, which is called parent element, to some new element, that is daughter element. There are some rules of radioactivity also which we will see. Now what are radioactive substances? Now this was the definition of radioactivity. Radioactive substances are those substances which disintegrate or decay by the spontaneous emission of radiations. They are radioactive substances. For example, uranium, radium, it is radium. Uranium, radium, polonium, thorium, those are all radioactive substances, RADIUM. Now this is a question that has been asked, when does an atom become radioactive? All atoms don't become radioactive if all elements having atomic number greater than 82, that is after lead in the periodic table, are naturally occurring radioactive substances. They have number of neutrons greater than number of protons in the nucleus. For example, all these, uranium, radium, polonium, thorium, they are all naturally occurring radioactive substances. Second, some isotopes in which number of neutrons is greater than number of protons, that is also radioactive. For example, one of them you had already seen, carbon 614. Protons is 6, neutrons is 8. So number of neutrons is more than the number of protons. It's not necessary all the time, but usually yes. The number of neutrons has to be greater, then it could be radioactive. And second example, this has got wide use in medical uses, cobalt 2760. In this the atomic number is 27, so number of protons is 27, whereas number of neutrons is 60 minus 27, that is 33. So these are radioisotopes. So all elements having atomic number more than 82, that is after lead, in the periodic table are naturally occurring radioactive substances like uranium, etc. And some radioisotopes are also present. They need not have atomic number greater than 82, but they are just radioisotopes. The number of neutrons is more than the number of protons. And you can remember two examples of that, carbon 14 and cobalt 2760. So write this in your notebook. Now, this diagram is very important. It has been asked many times to draw this diagram, and sometimes you are asked to label, and questions based on this are asked. See, in this diagram there is a lead container which has a very small narrow opening. It's a thick lead box with a small opening. A radioactive substance, a radioactive salt means a radioactive substance or salt of uranium or thorium can be taken in that. Now when it is left there, it was observed that if a photographic film was placed there, three distinct spots were found on the photographic film, which indicated that this substance emitted three types of particles. Now this experiment is performed in a vacuumized chamber in which an electric field is provided. One end of the electric field is having positive charge, the other part of the electric field has the negative charge. So the radioactive substance is kept inside the container, and after some time it was seen that there was three types of particles emitted. One was a radiation that went straight undeflected. The undeflected means that this has no charge, because if it had a charge it would have moved either to positive or negative. This had no charge, so these were called gamma radiations. They went straight without any deflection. Another particle was seen that it moves towards the positively charged plate of the electric field. So this indicated that they are negatively charged particles. Those negatively charged particles were called beta particles. And a third type of particle was seen. It was moving towards the negative terminal of the electric field. Now those are positively charged particles because they have positive charge, that is why they get attracted towards the negative plate. Now it is also seen, and when you draw this figure it has to be shown also that way, that the beta particles are coming out and moving first. Beta particles, they are moving first and they are moving towards the positive terminal. They are moving first because they are light. They are extremely light particles. These beta particles are equivalent to an electron having negligible mass and unit negative charge. So since they are light, it is like when a wind blows, the light particles are lifted off first. So same way in an electric field, the light beta particles move towards the positive terminal and the deflection happens first. As soon as it comes out, the deflection happens. Whereas the alpha particles are heavier. They are equivalent to the helium nucleus, 2 protons and 2 neutrons. They are equivalent to helium nucleus, so they have some mass. the mass of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. That is why the reflection happens a little bit slower and the reflection is less as compared to the beta particles. So beta deflection is more. So when you draw this figure, not only all this should be properly labeled as positive, negative, electric field, gamma, beta and alpha, but you also have to show the beta particles deflecting first as soon as it comes out and the alpha particles deflecting a bit later. Sometimes they ask you a question based on this. They do not write which particle. They ask you whether this is alpha or this is beta. They don't write this. Then you have to identify it. You will have to say that this is the alpha particle. Why? Because it is heavy, it is getting deflected later. So it comes up a bit and then gets deflected. Whereas this is beta particle, these are light particles, so the deflection happens as soon as it comes into the electric field. So here I will read what is written. The radioactive substance emits 3 types of radiations. The positively charged particles, namely alpha particles, deflected towards the negative terminal in an electric field. Since they are heavier, the deflection is less as compared to beta, which are lighter. They are heavier. Alpha is heavier. Alpha particle is equivalent to the helium nucleus. Helium is 2 protons and 2 neutrons. So it is equivalent to helium nucleus. I am not talking about the atom with electrons. That is, it has 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Second, beta particles are negatively charged particles equivalent to an electron in mass and charge. And so they get deflected towards the positive terminal. Since they are extremely less mass, the deflection is more. The deflection is more as compared to the alpha particles. So the deflection happens as soon as it comes out. And last, one type of radiation went undeflected in the electric field, which indicates that it has no charge. These are gamma radiations. They are high energy electromagnetic radiations. You have even seen that in the electromagnetic spectrum. Gamma was at the bottom of the spectrum, invisible radiations. So they are electromagnetic radiations having very high energy. So we will see the uses of alpha, beta, gamma and properties and laws of radioactive LAWS, laws of radioactive disintegration in our next video. Bye students, take care.